You ever have a moment that stops your heart cold, where one sentence changes everything you thought you knew? I was 19, standing in my best friend Jake's kitchen, when his mom, Claire, held up my old denim jacket and said, "It still smells like you." Her voice was soft, almost a whisper, but it hit me like a freight train. My stomach twisted, not because of the words, but because of the way her eyes lingered on me, like she was seeing something she shouldn't. I'd left that jacket at their house months ago, forgotten after a late-night hangout. It was just a beat-up denim thing, frayed at the cuffs, stained from too many nights out, my cheap cologne soaked into the fabric. I hadn't thought twice about it. But now, Claire was standing there, her fingers brushing the collar like it was something delicate, something worth keeping. Her gaze locked on mine, and I swear the air in that room turned heavy, like the world was holding its breath. What do you do when someone says something that feels wrong? Not wrong like a crime, but wrong like a secret you didn't know you were carrying. Claire was 42, a mom, my best friend's mom, for God's sake. She wasn't supposed to look at me like that, with eyes that felt like they were peeling back layers I didn't even know I had. She wasn't supposed to hold on to my jacket like it was a piece of me she didn't want to let go of. And I wasn't supposed to feel that spark in my chest, that mix of guilt and curiosity that made me want to know what she meant. Was it just a casual comment, something she said without thinking? Or was there something more, something forbidden, hiding in those words? I stood there, frozen, my hand half reaching for the jacket, knowing I should laugh it off, grab it, and leave. But I didn't. I couldn't. Because deep down, a part of me, a part one didn't want to admit existed, wanted to hear her say it again. Have you ever felt a pull towards something you know you should run from? That moment when your heart says one thing, but your head screams another? That's where this story starts, right there in that kitchen, with a jacket, a look, and a sentence that broke every rule I thought I lived by. Stick with me, because this moment? It was just the beginning of something I never saw coming, something that would unravel everything I thought I knew about myself, about loyalty, about the lines we're not supposed to cross. Let me take you back to the summer I turned 19. I was a college freshman, home for the break, spending most of my days with Jake, my best friend since middle school. Jake's house was my second home. Their living room was where we'd sprawl out for late-night gaming sessions, controllers in hand, arguing over who was better at Call of Duty. His mom, Claire, always had the fridge stocked with soda, and she'd poke her head in to make sure we weren't starving. She was the kind of mom who felt more like a friend sometimes. She'd laugh at our dumb jokes, bring us snacks, and never made us feel like we were in the way. She had this warmth, this quiet strength that made you feel safe, like you could tell her anything and she'd understand. But she was also beautiful. I mean, I noticed it, but I didn't notice it, you know? Not in the way that mattered. She was Jake's mom. Off limits. Untouchable. That's just how it was. Claire was a single mom, had been for years after Jake's dad walked out when we were kids. She worked as a nurse, pulling long shifts at the hospital, coming home with tired eyes but never a bitter word. She had this way of carrying herself, graceful, but not delicate, like she'd been through too much to be fragile. Her dark hair was always pulled back in a messy bun, strands falling loose when she was tired. Her eyes, this deep hazel, always seemed to see right through you, like she could read your thoughts before you even had them. Growing up, I never thought much of it. She was just Claire, the mom who let us stay up too late, who patched me up when I scraped my knee falling off my skateboard, who never judged me for my awkward teenage phase, braces, bad haircuts, the works. That summer, though, something felt different. I was older, maybe more aware of the world, of myself. Jake and I were still tight, but he was busy with a part-time job at a hardware store, so I'd end up at their house alone sometimes, just hanging out, waiting for him to get back. Claire would be there, folding laundry or making coffee, and we'd talk. Nothing heavy at first, just small stuff. How college was going, what I wanted to do with my life, whether I was keeping up with my classes. She'd listen, really listen, in a way that made me feel like my words mattered, like I wasn't just some kid stumbling through life. I started looking forward to those moments, those quiet afternoons when it was just us, the house still except for the hum of the AC or the clink of her coffee mug on the counter. I didn't think it was weird. Not at first. It was just nice. Then came the jacket. I'd left it on their couch one night after a party at Jake's place. It was this old denim thing, worn out from too many nights out, the kind of jacket that carried the smell of bonfires and cheap cologne. I forgot about it, figured it'd turn up eventually, maybe in a pile of Jake's laundry. Months passed, and I didn't think twice. Until that day in the kitchen, when Claire walked in holding it, her fingers tracing the collar like it was something fragile, something she didn't want to let go of. "I found this in the guest room," she said, her voice low, almost careful. "It still smells like you." I laughed, trying to play it cool, but my heart was racing so fast I thought it might burst. Why did she keep it? Why didn't she just toss it in the laundry or hand it to Jake to give back? And why did her saying that make me feel seen? Not like a kid, not like Jake's friend, but like someone else entirely, someone who mattered in a way I couldn't explain. I mumbled something about forgetting it, reached for the jacket, but she didn't let go right away. Her fingers lingered on the fabric, and so did her eyes on me. For a second, I thought she was going to say something else, something that would tip the world off its axis. But then Jake walked in, his sneakers squeaking on the tile, and the moment shattered like glass. He tossed his keys on the counter, started talking about some dumb thing that happened at work, and I forced a smile, pretending my pulse wasn't hammering in my ears. That night I couldn't sleep. Claire's words kept playing in my head, over and over, like a song stuck on repeat. "It still smells like you." What did that mean? Was I reading too much into it? I mean, she was Jake's mom. She'd known me since I was 12, back when I had braces and thought I was cool for wearing mismatched socks. But that look in her eyes, it wasn't the way she used to look at me, all maternal and fond. It was something else, something that made my chest tight and my thoughts spiral into places they shouldn't go. I kept seeing her standing there, holding that jacket, her fingers brushing the fabric like it was a memory she didn't want to lose. I kept hearing her voice, soft and deliberate, like she'd meant every word. The next day, I went back to Jake's house. I told myself it was to hang out with him, to play video games or mess around like we always did, but deep down, I knew the truth. I wanted to see Claire again. I needed to know if that moment in the kitchen was real or if I'd imagined it, built it up in my head into something it wasn't. Jake was at work, his shift not ending for hours, but Claire was home, sitting at the dining table with a cup of coffee and a stack of medical journals. She was in her scrubs, her hair up, a pen tucked behind her ear like she'd been working all morning. She smiled when she saw me, like she always did, but there was something new in it, a flicker of something I couldn't name, like she was just as unsure as I was. "Hey," she said, setting her coffee down. "Jake's not back till 6. "Yeah, I know," I said, shoving my hands in my pockets to keep them from shaking. "Just thought I'd stop by." She raised an eyebrow, just slightly, and I felt my face heat up. Why did I say that? Why was I even here? It sounded so stupid out loud, like I was some kid who didn't know what he was doing. But then she gestured to the chair across from her. "Want some coffee?" she asked, like it was the most normal thing in the world. I nodded, sat down, and suddenly we were talking again, about college, about her job, about the time I crashed my bike in their driveway when I was 14 and she had to bandage my elbow. It was easy, too easy, and I found myself watching her hands as she talked, the way they moved when she laughed, the way her fingers curled around her mug. I noticed the faint freckles on her knuckles, the way her nails were short from years of working in a hospital. I noticed everything, and it scared me how much I wanted to keep noticing. Days turned into weeks, and I kept finding excuses to show up when Jake wasn't there. I'd offer to help Claire with small things, carrying groceries from her car, tightening a loose hinge on a cabinet, stuff I'd never cared about before. It wasn't about the tasks, it was about being near her, about those moments when it was just us. Every time, she'd thank me, her voice soft, her eyes lingering just a second too long. I started noticing things about her I hadn't before. The way her laugh lines crinkled when she smiled, the way she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear when she was nervous, the way her voice got quieter when she talked about something personal. And I was nervous too, all the time, because I knew what I was feeling wasn't okay. She was 42. I was 19. She was Jake's mom. The math didn't add up, and neither did the morality. But the more I tried to push those thoughts away, the louder they got, like a drumbeat in my chest I couldn't ignore. One evening, I was helping her clean up after dinner. Jake was upstairs, probably scrolling on his phone, and it was just us in the kitchen, the sink running, the clink of dishes filling the silence. She handed me a plate to dry, and our fingers brushed. It was nothing, just a split second, but I felt it everywhere, like a jolt that woke up every nerve in my body. I looked at her, and she was looking at me, and for a moment neither of us moved. The air felt thick, like we were both holding our breath, waiting for something to break. "You're good at this," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Taking care of things." I swallowed hard, my throat dry. "Just trying to help," I said, but my voice cracked and I knew she heard it. She smiled, but it wasn't her usual smile. It was sad, almost like she knew something I didn't, like she was carrying a weight I couldn't see. "You're a good kid," she said, but the way she said kid felt wrong, like she was trying to remind herself of something, to put me back in a box I didn't fit in anymore. That's when the guilt hit. Hard. Like a punch to the gut that left me reeling. I was betraying Jake, my best friend, the guy who'd been there through every stupid fight, every heartbreak, every time I felt like I wasn't enough. Just by being here, just by feeling this, I was crossing a line I couldn't uncross. But I couldn't stop. Every time I saw Claire, it was like the world narrowed to just her, her voice, her eyes, the way she made me feel like I was more than just some dumb college kid trying to figure out his place in the world. I started wondering what it would be like to cross that line for real, to say something, to do something. But what? Tell her I couldn't stop thinking about her? That was insane. She'd laugh, or worse, she'd tell Jake, and I'd lose everything, my best friend, my second home, the only place that ever felt like it fit. But then there were moments that made me think she felt it too. Like the time she asked me to stay for dinner, just the two of us, because Jake was out with his girlfriend. We ate at the kitchen table, take-out pizza because she was too tired to cook after a double shift. At first, it was quiet, just the sound of us chewing, the hum of the fridge in the background. But then she started asking me about my dreams, my fears, things I'd never told anyone, not even Jake. I told her about how college felt like a maze I couldn't navigate, how I was scared I'd end up stuck in a life I didn't want. She listened, really listened, her eyes locked on mine like I was the only person in the world. When I finished, she reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "You'll find your way," she said, and her hand stayed there, warm against mine, for just a second too long. My heart was pounding, and I wanted to hold on, to tell her everything, but I pulled back, muttering something about needing to study. I started noticing other things too. The way she'd linger when she said goodbye, her hand brushing my shoulder as I left. The way she'd text me to check if I was coming over, even when she knew Jake was at work. Once, she sent me a message that just said, "You left your jacket again." I hadn't. I knew exactly where it was, hanging in my closet, right where I'd left it. But I went over anyway, my pulse racing, telling myself it was nothing, just a mix-up. When I got there, she handed it to me, her fingers brushing mine, and there it was again, that look, that same soft. "It still smells like you." I wanted to ask her why she kept saying that, why she kept the jacket, but the words stuck in my throat. I just took it and left, my mind a mess of questions I was too scared to answer. The summer was slipping away, and so was my grip on what was right and wrong. Every interaction with Claire felt like a step closer to a line I couldn't uncross. I'd lie awake at night, replaying our conversations, analyzing every word, every glance. Was I crazy? Was I making this up in my head, turning nothing into something because I was lonely, or lost, or just desperate for someone to see me? Or was she feeling it too, this pull, this thing that wasn't supposed to exist between us? I started noticing the way she'd pause before she spoke, like she was choosing her words carefully. The way she'd stand a little closer when we were alone, her arm brushing mine when she handed me a glass of water. The way her voice softened when she said my name, like it was something she held on to. One afternoon, I showed up at Jake's house unannounced, like always. Jake was at work, but Claire was in the backyard, gardening, her hands deep in the dirt. She was kneeling by a row of marigolds, her hair falling in her face, and when she saw me, she smiled like I was the best thing she'd seen all day. "You're here," she said, brushing her hands on her jeans, leaving streaks of soil behind. "Want to help me with these?" I didn't know a thing about gardening, but I grabbed a trowel and knelt beside her, the sun warm on my back. We worked in silence for a while, the only sounds the rustle of leaves and the soft scrape of metal in the dirt. Then she started talking, about her life, about how she'd wanted to be an artist before she became a nurse, about the dreams she'd buried to raise Jake on her own. Her voice was steady, but there was a weight to it, like she was confessing something she'd kept locked away for years. I didn't know what to say, so I just listened, but inside I was screaming. I wanted to tell her she was amazing, that she deserved more than a life of sacrifices, that she was still young, still vibrant, still someone who could chase those dreams. But I didn't. I couldn't. The words felt too big, too dangerous. That's when she looked at me, her eyes searching mine, like she was trying to find something she'd lost. "You're different, you know," she said. "You see people. Really see them." My heart stopped. I wanted to ask what she meant, to make her say it out loud, but I was too scared of the answer. Instead, I mumbled something about needing to go, grabbed my stuff, and left, my chest tight with guilt and longing. I walked home, the summer air heavy around me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was running from something I didn't want to escape. The next week, things got worse. Jake started noticing I was acting weird. We were in his basement, playing video games, the same couch we'd sat on 100 times before, but I couldn't focus. My mind was somewhere else, on Claire, on that moment in the backyard, on every moment that came before it. "You okay, man?" Jake asked, pausing the game, his eyes narrowing. "You're like distracted all the time." I brushed it off, made some excuse about college stress, but I could feel his gaze on me, like he knew something was off. I hated myself for it. Jake was my brother, the one person who'd always had my back, who'd stayed up with me when my parents were fighting, who'd driven me to the ER when I broke my wrist skateboarding. And here I was, falling for his mom, letting this secret eat me alive. But I couldn't stay away. The next day, I was back at their house, helping Claire paint the guest room. We were alone, the air thick with the smell of fresh paint and something else, tension, unspoken and heavy. She was on a ladder, rolling paint onto the wall, and I was holding it steady, trying not to stare at the way her shirt clung to her back, the way her hair fell loose from its bun. "You're quiet today," she said, glancing down at me, her voice soft but curious. "Just thinking," I said, my voice hoarse, barely recognizable to myself. "About what?" she asked, and there it was again, that look, that question that felt like a dare, like she was testing the water, seeing how far I'd go. I should have lied. I should have said something safe, something that would keep us on solid ground. But instead I said, "You." The room went silent. She froze, her paintbrush hovering midair, a drop of paint falling to the floor. For a second, I thought I'd ruined everything, that she'd laugh or tell me to leave or call me crazy. But then she climbed down the ladder, slow and deliberate, and stood in front of me. Too close. Her eyes were locked on mine, and I could see the conflict in them, fear, maybe, or desire, or both. "What about me?" she asked, her voice barely audible, like she was afraid of her own words. I couldn't breathe. My mind was screaming at me to stop, to walk away, to remember Jake, to remember who she was, who I was. But my body wouldn't listen. I don't know, I said, which was a lie. I knew exactly what I meant. I knew exactly what I wanted, to close the distance between us, to feel her closer, to forget every rule that said this was wrong. She didn't say anything, just looked at me, her eyes full of something I couldn't read. Then she reached out and touched my arm, her fingers light but electric, sending a jolt through me that I felt in my bones. We can't, she whispered, but she didn't move away. Her hand stayed there, her touch burning into me, and for a moment, I thought she might lean closer, might let it happen. I don't know how long we stood there, inches apart, the world fading around us. All I knew was that I wanted to close that distance, to forget Jake, to forget the rules, to forget everything except her. My heart was pounding, my hands trembling, and I could see it in her eyes. She was fighting it too, fighting the same pull, the same impossible want. But before I could do anything, before I could say another word, the front door slammed open. Jake was home. His voice snapped us out of it. "Yo, you here?" he called from the hallway, his footsteps loud on the tile. Claire stepped back, her face pale, her hand dropping to her side like she'd been burned. I grabbed the paint can like it was a lifeline, my heart pounding so hard I thought I'd pass out. Jake walked in, oblivious, tossing his backpack on the counter, talking about some annoying customer at work. I played along, nodding, forcing a laugh, pretending my entire world hadn't just tilted on its axis. But something had. Something irreversible. I could still feel her touch on my arm, still see the look in her eyes, and I knew nothing would ever be the same. Claire avoided me after that. No more lingering looks, no more late-night talks, no more texts about jackets I hadn't left behind. She was polite, distant, like she was trying to erase what we'd almost done, like she was building a wall between us. I tried to act normal too, for Jake's sake, for my own sake, but every time I saw her, it hurt. Not because she'd rejected me, but because I knew she felt it too. That moment in the guest room wasn't just me. It was us, both of us standing on the edge of something we couldn't take back. And now we were both pretending it never happened, moving through the motions of normal life like actors in a play we didn't write. A week later, I moved back to college. The summer was over, and so was whatever this was. I packed my bags, said goodbye to Jake like nothing was wrong, and walked out of their house for the last time that year. But I left my jacket behind, on purpose this time, folded neatly on the guest room bed. I don't know if she kept it. I don't know if she ever thought about me again, if she ever stood in that room and remembered that moment, that almost. Sometimes, late at night, when the dorm is quiet and my mind won't shut off, I wonder what would have happened if Jake hadn't come home that day. Would we have crossed that line? Would it have been worth it, the guilt, the fallout, the wreckage of everything I cared about? Some secrets are better left buried, but they never really go away, do they? They linger like a scent you can't wash out, like a jacket that holds too many memories. Have you ever had a moment like that, one you can't forget, no matter how hard you try? One that makes you question who you are, what you're capable of? Drop a comment below and tell me about it. What's the one choice you almost made that could have changed everything? And if you want more stories like this, ones that pull you in and don't let go, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You never know when the next one might hit you just as hard, might make you feel that same mix of guilt and longing, that same pull towards something you know you should run from.